So, but let's get into this a little bit because obviously we all know we've talked about it all season, and coming in the last couple weeks especially. Ron said after last game, after the back-to-back turnovers that Taylor Heineke had against San Francisco, Ron said he already brought in Carson. He said he's going to start Carson. We talked about it potentially should happen. Delilah said, "Put in your best guy." We agreed. But I think hindsight's 2020. I think we need to ask the question: should Ron have started Carson Wentz against the Browns? You can go back and look at the videotape. I know what I said. Get the best guy in. We needed him to do it. But when you really look at the last 10 weeks, when you look at how Heineke, it was funny because he didn't do much really to help until the last 2 minutes or something like that. He did more harm than good for most of the game. But it was like the glue that stuck the team together. It was like he did the unnecessary things, but he did the things like that he needed to do. One thing that happened there that did not happen until the second half of this game, Terry McLaurin getting involved. I think he had one reception in the first half. I know he had maybe a reverse, but they weren't getting him the ball. We have said it left, right, and center, so much so that the ESPN, all the analysts say it. Whenever they talk about Taylor Heineke and Terry McLaurin, it's F it. He's down there somewhere. Throw him the ball. Carson, I don't know. I know he didn't have necessarily the time, but at the same time, you have got to feed the rock to the guy that our leader. He is our guy. It needs to happen. So he looked bad, and yes, we can easily go to the interceptions, which were bad plays, but even more than that, I think his play was epitomized by, I think it was the second drive. We run the ball. We're deep in our own territory. We run the ball to get out of the end zone. We have a second down. He drops back. We had Brian Robinson going out to the flat, and you're like, here we go. It's an easy, simple pass. Takes a snap, catches, passes the ball, throws it into the flipping dirt. Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. Mm-hmm. What do you want me to say to that, Carson? And you see people making memes about it and putting it up constantly. It's just like, F it, man. So no, he should not have started it. He should not have started him. Hindsight's 2020, but something's in his head, and we got to figure that out, man. We got to figure it out, or maybe we don't. Maybe it's for the next team to figure out.
So I actually will say, to the answer to this question is yes, we should have started Carson Wentz. I think we had to do this. For multiple reasons. One is the team wasn't averaging enough points with Taylor Heineke. The Browns scored 24. The way Heineke was playing, we would not have won that game. We scored 10 points with Carson. We might have scored 13 or 14 with Heineke, maybe 17, which, could have been better. But he wasn't getting the job done, is what I'm trying to say. Is he had hit his plateau and he wasn't getting the job done. The other reason why Ron had to make this move is we needed some finality to figure out what are we doing in 2023, because you knew the staff has made it clear they have twice signed a veteran or gone out and got a veteran quarterback to play over Taylor Heineke. So they are not going to go into 2023 and try and re-sign Taylor as their starter. They do not see him as a franchise starter. So then if that's the case, you need to go to the guy who has more physical skills and say, you're healed. You've had a chance to watch this offense. You've had a chance to play against San Francisco, and you played better. You were quick with your decision-making. You got the ball out of your hands and put the ball where it needs to go. We got to go back to you. And so they did. And this also gave him a chance now to say, we aren't re-signing him next year. There's that out clause. We have $28 million now to spend elsewhere. Because we did try and feature the run. Brian Robinson in the first half had 21 carries, I believe, for 70-some yards. So you can't say that we didn't go with what was being successful for Terry. For Taylor, sorry. But boy, did Carson Wentz the bed.
Yep, absolutely.
Because this was his chance to be a starter in 2023, to revive his career. He had a chance to watch it. But he's not going to take another snap in DC. They've already started practicing, and he's third string. He's going to be probably inactive on Sunday. But he was atrocious out there.
He was. Yeah.
Everything that he built from the 49ers game, and Ron said it, he was fast in his decision making. He got the ball out. He took the ball where it needs to go. He didn't do that on Sunday. No. He made poor decisions. He made poor execution. You talked about the swing passes he couldn't hit. He threw the ball to the wrong receivers, or he was inaccurate. The first interception, he had to throw that ball out towards the sideline. He threw it inside and gave the defender a chance. The second interception, he went for the deep ball when he had the receiver open short.
Wide open.
He had opportunities, and that's been his biggest knock on him was he goes for hero ball too often. And would he just take what's given to him? And against the 49ers, he did. He took what was in front of him because they blitzed him a lot. He took what was in front of him, got rid of the ball, and that gave the staff confidence of, he's turned the corner. We know what he's going to do. And on Sunday, he reverted back to the old Carson Wentz. He was awful. He was awful.
Yeah, he was terrible. I mean, didn't even get over 100 yards in the first half. And, he had a couple big plays in the second half. He ended up with still under 150 yards in those 3 interceptions. And like you said, they weren't pretty. Like, he underthrew the first one. That second one, but matter of fact, both of the deep balls were, if I'm not mistaken, the first one was to Jahan Dotson late in the game. Was the other one to Jahan, or was it to
Curtis Samuel?
Yeah, to Curtis Samuel. Those guys aren't 6 foot. I mean, these are shorter guys, and they're double covered in those situations.
And he underthrew the ball both times too.
Right.
It's not him. He wasn't throwing over their head to say, "Go run and get it."
Right. And that's what he's supposed to have. He's supposed to have the cannon, right? He's supposed to be the one that can throw it deeper than Taylor Heineke. So for that, it didn't look. He didn't look confident. He didn't look ready. And like you said, we did feature the run at least in the first half. With those over 20 carries, but we kind of went away from that. But I mean, we were trying to figure something out. It's frustrating to go into that. But Nathan brought something up. Do we need to put any of that on Scott Turner? I mean, we talked about him all year. Obviously, the fans are kind of getting into him right now. I know you've been on his side, but you've also been on his case. Like, what do you think? Because yes, we try to get the run going, but I almost look at Carson like you need to treat this like he was a rookie, almost like this was Taylor when he first came out. Give him the easy passes. Don't give him that option to go deep. Give him the quick crossing route. Give him the little bootleg. Give him something that can build him up, build confidence up, and continue to run it so we don't have to worry about him thinking, I have to make the play. Because that's what seems to keep going in his head. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on Scott?
Yeah. So it's so hard for us to really, truly give an evaluation because we don't know were routes running correctly. What did the quarterback go to the right place with the right ball sometimes? Was the blocking, what happened in the blocking as to what we see a running back get stopped, but who missed the block? Who was supposed to do what? So it can be it's really difficult, in my opinion, to be, ripping on a play caller if we don't actually know everything involved in it. But I saw some things and I've listened to some things that I thought were good points that could have been brought up. The second interception, they were talking about how I think it was Cam Sims might have been open underneath and Wentz went deep with the ball. But it was Logan Paulson who was talking about, there's ways to make this simple or simplify the offense. If you've got a quarterback who maybe doesn't read very well or is looking to play hero ball too much, where he was basically saying, what Carson needed to do was watch the safety or was a linebacker. And when the linebacker took off with Curtis Samuel, in Carson's mind, he said, wide receiver on linebacker. I like that matchup. But there was a safety back there. And what he should have done is if the linebacker goes, there should have been an underneath route where the linebacker was. Right. And that's where he could have thrown the ball. Because then if the linebacker had stayed there, then he knew he had Samuel in single coverage. Instead, he threw it to where he had double coverage because the linebacker went with him. So he was talking about ways that Scott could have simplified this offense for Carson to help him make better reads. And I think there's a lot of truth into that. something that happens with offensive play callers is at times they get too cute. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm
Yes.
not going to compare Scott Turner to Kyle Shanahan, but I'm going to talk about a play that shows some examples of offensive coordinators getting too cute. And you're kind of wondering, a little bit with execution. So in the 49er game, do you remember on fourth down, the 49ers ran an option route with their fullback early
Mm.
in the game and we
Yeah.
stuffed them? What if Scott Turner had run an option route with a fullback or with our tight end on
Yeah.
4th and 2?
Yeah.
Fans would have gone ballistic. But
Right.
Kyle Shanahan did it, and people just move on and call him an offensive genius. We had a 4th and 1 play set up, and it was not executed well. And
No.
what I also don't know was it also not schemed well. So it was a pitch to Jonathan Williams. Now, Cleveland was overloading up the middle. They had
Mm-hmm.
said, "You're not going to run the ball." So I know everyone's pissed off that we didn't take a power back and run them up the middle, but they had taken that out. But part of the problem on that play when they ran the pitch is Curtis Samuel, based on where the offensive lineman went, was supposed to chip Myles Garrett,
Yeah.
the best defensive player in the league. You're going to put a 190-pound wide receiver on him.
Exactly.
How is that going to work? Now, I will also say the corner next to him was Greg Newsome. Nobody blocked him either.
No.
And then you had 5 offensive linemen. So how in the F did Jadeveon Clowney get over to also help on that?
Right.
So that's where I'm saying it's like a combination of that's a weird scheme call, but then also how does that happen?
Right.
How do you let that many guys get it? Someone didn't make blocks, and it can't just be on one wide receiver. So that's where it's like I think it's a combination because even on that play, Ron had this look of like, what?
Right.
And it's like I don't know what he's frustrated about. Was it a complete blocking error? Was one of someone else supposed to get Myles Garrett? Was it not supposed to be Curtis? This is kind of some of the stuff that we don't know, but there absolutely seems some disconnect at times out there between the play calls, the executions, and that's what we've seen all year. And that's a concern for me.
Yes.
We've talked about all year. There's been inconsistencies in what we do during the game, and that I think does go on Scott.
Yeah, and see that's where it goes on Scott. That's where it goes on the coaching because you're absolutely right. We can go as far back as week 2 where we totally the bed in the first half, don't score anything, give up 22 to Detroit, and then all of a sudden we put up 20, 28 in the 27 in the second half, and we keep this thing moving. You know what I mean? Like we have been in here. What's going on, Ash? Like we have slowly started in games and we've struggled, but there's games where we're just playing out of our minds and we can get 28, 36. We can start moving the ball and scoring points, but for the most part, it has been a struggle. It has been okay. When's the other shoe gonna drop? When's he gonna throw the crucial interception? When you know what I mean? When are we gonna struggle? This game we didn't have to wait for that interception to be thrown. But I will say this: we are mentioning Carson and anybody else. 2 interceptions, first 2 drives. You're calling it quits. That's it. But we did have that 21 play drive. We did take, almost an entire quarter up like we did in the Philly game. And he was able to get the job done, albeit on 4th and goal, but he was able to get it done. And it almost makes you wonder on all these times that we've had these 4th and 1, why aren't we utilizing the fact that we have a 6-foot+ quarterback where it looked so easy where he jumped over the edge, but how poor have we been in the red zone all year?
Yeah.
I mean, in the games that he's playing is what is what I'm referring to. So, look, I'll give him his due, getting us in that first half, helping us and get us through. But hey, the second half was rough. The second half was rough. We kind of went away from the running game. Our leading receiver was Logan Thomas. Okay, Terry only had 2 receptions in the whole daggone game. That's a problem. That is a problem. And so it does go to play calling, but it also goes to, we know what Carson likes. He likes his big tight end, so that's what he's comfortable with, and that's what he went to Logan. Cool, he had a running game, but it just didn't look like things were in sync. It didn't look like the guys were playing together. So I agree. I don't know if that's all on Carson or if that's all on, it was a multitude of things, and it's frustrating though, man. It is.
I love what you're saying there, though. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, but I want to
No,
stay
you're
on
good.
that coaching part of like, so that one drive in the second quarter, Carson made some big throws. He made
Yes.
throws that Taylor Heineke can't make when he zipped the ball in. But when you came out in the third quarter and he had another clunker of a drive,
Yep.
and then Cleveland came in, I think, and they scored at that point. That honestly, that's where Ron needs to be saying, "Is the game about to slip away?
Yeah.
Should I be going to Heineke? Like, is it not working? You know, because essentially you could say at that point, Carson, you had one drive, but it, you know, I mean, we relied on the running game a lot during that drive.
Yeah.
You made a couple of throws, you did, but we relied on the running game. Now you came out here and once again, you know, weren't doing well. Maybe Ron should have made the switch right there.
So that I think leads to another question. Everybody knows the memes and everybody knows what's been said where Ron was in the interview and they were like, playoff game, you guys are eliminated. And then he made the comment, "Oh, we can be eliminated." I personally thought he was sarcastic. Other people thought he was 100% real, for real on that. But I mean, it would lend to that I mean, it almost feels like it was a pride thing because it, like you said, there was one drive that looked halfway decent, which was relying on the run, and the rest of it in that first half looked pretty terrible. Like it did not look great, And we always get on Taylor and how maybe he's poor on offense, but he might throw one. He has days where he's throwing two, but he doesn't like it. Every time he threw the ball in the early parts of the game, you held your breath because it was like, what's about to happen? You didn't feel confident. And I'm not saying you felt confident with Taylor, but Taylor threw a couple of those crazy ones where you're kind of doing one of these and he
Every
makes it.
game, every
Right.
game, every
It's
game, the defense drops a pick. Every game
right.
with Taylor.
Right. And so then it makes you think, okay, yeah, he's got this, even though you shouldn't think that. But with Carson, it just didn't. You just didn't have confidence at all that he was going to get it done. And it almost makes you wonder if it was a pride thing where it's like, all right, we made this pick. We're going with Carson. We're not going to sit here and look like there's egg on our face and go back to Taylor. But that's what lends it to that comment where it's like, you were acting like you didn't know how urgent this game was. Like, we needed to win, or your job is potentially on the line. Like, he just seemed like, I don't know, aloof. I don't know if that's the right word, but he just.
I feel like I honestly believe him when he came out later on and said that I just had all the confidence in the world we were going to win this game. I think Ron felt the whole time they were going to win because I didn't think he thought that Carson would come out and play the way he did. Yeah. Now remember, go back to that game against the Bears. Ron, after a post-game win, went after the media. He tore into them and said, "I'm the one who okayed this trade. I'm the one who said I wanted this guy to be quarterback." So guess what? He's going to stick by him in the second half of this game to really feel because he believes, they, like I said before, they really felt like they saw something against the 49ers that made it say, okay, we know he's more talented than Taylor, and now he's showing that he knows what to do in our offense. So Ron felt that the light bulb was going to go off during the game. Never did. Never did on Sunday. But I also want to say we're kind of really ripping on the offense and the coaching and Carson. We gave up 24 points to the Browns.
Yeah.
We made Deshaun Watson back.
Yeah.
And the Browns featured the running game, which, there was some talk leading into the game that the Browns were just going to focus on the passing game. They didn't care about 2022. They're out here to get Deshaun back on track for the next season. They ran the ball, and they ran the ball very, very well, So I got some other things about the defense, but I want to give you a chance, to talk about. But, I mean, the defense also didn't hold their own in the second half.
Right. And you could even go back to the first half talking about that running game. They were gashing us. I mean, between the screens, between the runs up the middle, between the runs to the edge, Nick Chubb was having a field day running all over us. And even though, I mean, honestly, that first half, we did make Deshaun look like he hadn't played in 700 some odd days. But still, there was moments where you're sitting there like, wait a minute, because we couldn't wrap him up. How many times did he scramble out and we had him and then he breaks away? And albeit he might throw an incomplete pass, but still, all he's the type of player that all he needs is that second chance. He needs to create a little bit, a little bit of magic, and then he can make it happen. And in the second half, I mean, we saw what came to fruition. So it really frustrated me in that. In the second half, our secondary gave it up. The running game was already kind of just it was just like that constant drip of water. Eventually, if it happens over and over and over, it's going to break. Everything's going to cave in, and that's what ended up happening. And then, I mean, honestly, our defense that and we didn't have our guy, we didn't have who St. Juice was still out,
Right.
right? Cam Curl,
No Cam Curl.
no Cam Curl, so we didn't have that, which played a part. But hey, shout out to Danny Johnson, shout out to some of these guys that were playing decent and playing well. Everybody went absent. I mean, when we had the one on Murray Cooper where he broke tackle and just went in, it's just like, what? Do y'all just quit? Are we just quitting right now? Like, I mean, the other couple, they're wide open. It's like, and each time on third down, we're sitting here like, we can't stop them. We had the one where it was 2nd and 19, and they get 21 on us, and I mean, it's just there was no urgency, there was no fire in that belly, Will. And I mean, maybe you could explain it better than I can, because honestly, when I looked at it, I loved what we had, but honestly, when Jonathan Allen went down, I knew we were going to slip a little bit, but at the same time, it was 7-3 at the half.
Yeah.
And as soon as that second half kickoff came, one team came out of the locker room, and it wasn't us.
Right. Like, for all that we want to talk about Carson Wentz and how bad he was, for all we want to talk about Scott Turner and his game plan and did he have a setup for success, where's that anger being directed at Kendall Fuller?
Yep.
Amari Cooper had no catches. Then he caught a ball, spun around, and said, "There's no one in front of me."
Yeah.
And so he sprinted down the sideline. Tell me where is the anger being directed at a player like that who gave up that BS touchdown?
Right.
Where is the anger being directed at our secondary for giving up that touchdown pass to Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Yes.
For the 24 to get the 23rd point. Where he was wide open over the middle. No one touched him until he crossed the goal line. And he caught the ball about the 15-yard line.
Right.
All right. You said it. No St. Juice, no Cam Curl. We're not talking about Deion Sanders and Ed Reed back there.
No.
Like, they're good players, and our defense was not the same without Cam Curl. So he is a difference maker. But come on. You're telling me we got no one else out there that can make plays? We had David Mayo take over 50 snaps in this game.
Yep.
That's not a recipe for success. We know that, though. But we knew that going into the season, that Mayo shouldn't be out there for that long. So that's where it's like, man, I'm angered at what happened on offense, but I'm angry at Skins fans and Commanders fans for being so one-sided in what they blame this on, that they're forgetting the other part of the game that happened in the second half that was equally as poor on defense as it was offense.
Yeah, and look, I'm with you. I get frustrated at the broken record. It's our coaches. It's the quarterback. We have problems on the O-line. We have problems in the defensive secondary. We have talked about this all year, how we're sitting here holding the linebackers together with, duct tape and glue, trying to sit here and keep this thing, but we know the truth. We have Jamin Davis, but yes, he's still young. Mayo getting in there, he doesn't have that speed. There's a reason why he wasn't the starter. Like,
he was cut. We cut him.
Right.
He didn't make the 53. We brought him back.
That's the problem. We have so many different issues. That's why you're absolutely right. It is very frustrating to hear when people say, "Oh, this is the one issue," or "That is the one issue," because it's not. It's a culmination of things. And at the end of the day, we did not look prepared all the way around. They came into our house, a team that, hey, shout out to our guy Nathan Snell, who's in the comments, who said they had nothing to play for, and that's what we thought. They looked like they were a team that had a shot to go to the playoffs this week. Simple as that.
Sean, we were 7-5. Okay, We were 7-5 and in the 6th spot in the playoffs. Yep. We are 7-8-1 now. And you could kind of see it in the Vikings game and the Falcons game. The defense was that dam was collapsing.
Yeah.
That running game that we had stuffed was not you could start to see the defense struggling, and the offense never could catch up, to help them out. The defense needs help. They need you to score more than 20 points, and the offense hasn't been able to do it. But bottom line is we were 7-5, and we collapsed at the end of the season. Yep. That needs to be a lot of soul searching going on in that building because of it. Say, how did this happen? And who was responsible for this? And even if it's, I don't want to hear injuries as the excuse like we did last year. I think that was I think COVID crushed us, okay? Yeah. The injuries crushed, but roster construction played a role in our collapse this year. When you have David Mayo as your third linebacker and Cole Holcomb missed more than half the season because of his foot injury, and you don't have anybody else in there, that's a problem. When a Cam Curl goes out and you don't have anyone that can do somewhere near what he brings to the table, that's a problem. So that does go on our coaching staff. That goes on our front office and what the roster they created, and recognizing that there are, they needed to build out the, more than just the playmakers and starters. They needed to build out the depth, and that got ignored all off season. But it wasn't ignored by you and I. We kept saying linebackers and corners. What are we doing here? Linebackers and corners.
Yep. And we said, hey, we are one major injury in the secondary, one major injury in our linebacker core to being seriously in a desperate situation. It came to fruition, and it came to fruition again at the worst time. I got Nick in here. Sorry I'm late. How much do you blame Ron for making the decision to put Wentz back in when Heineke was the guy who got you where you were? Yeah, that's what we were just talking about, man. We were just
it was a split decision.
Yeah. We wanted him. We were like, yeah, let's get him back. Let's bring him back. But hey, look, it was a whole team effort. The whole team did not play with urgency, but he didn't help matters. And shout out to my guy Nick. You called it earlier.
Said it in August.
Yeah, he did, man.
But he also said Daniel Jones was the worst quarterback in the division, and boy, that we all got fooled by that one.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Nicole said, I see the competitive part you guys here. I'll have. Oh, absolutely.
She's very kind. Very kind. Yeah, this is tough, Nicole.
Bleeding hearts.
This is this is mature Will speaking here, because Sean knows about 15 years ago, I wouldn't be able to been on talking here. My language would not have been good.
We're cussing up a storm.
Oh, man. Right? We saw too many of these games at FedEx.
Oh, yes. That's why we have that verbal, here we go again.
Yeah. And see what Nick's saying, I still don't think they are. I think Heineke wasn't moving the ball. Yeah. Like, I don't know if he would have won this game either.
No. Heineke's
not if the defense was going to do what they did. I don't think Heineke would have made that much of a difference.
Exactly, because like you said, we only averaged about 20 points a game. So Heineke's not getting that done, and the defense wasn't holding them. You know what I mean? The only thing that Heineke may have done is, sustain the drive, kept us on the field. Who knows? But he's also susceptible to throwing those interceptions. But yeah, they are a different team. Heineke, man, he's like that hype man. You'll want him in your corner because he's gonna get you pumped up and everything like that. But he's also like the dude that's gonna let you down every once in a while. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. He might be the league's best backup. Him and Colt McCoy can duel it out as the best backup in the league.
And shout out to him. When it's all said and done, he's got enough tape on him. People know what he can do. We've seen he's gone toe-to-toe with the GOAT, gone toe-to-toe with Mahomes, Rodgers, all these guys. He's playing his butt off. He's making the best of an opportunity out of ODU. Shout out to him, man.
Thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.